Check out the closing bell on Wall Street today. All right, you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? It's up 90, 88 points there. Everyone happy to see this day end. It was bizarre to say the least. So let me walk you through what happened today, right? That close right there, 88.95, is actually more than 1,000-point improvement. Earlier today, the Dow was down more than 1,100 points. The late-day rebound snapping a 6-day losing streak. The Nasdaq and S&P were also getting killed earlier, too. We can't show those two, but they are both also in the green. But before that, they were both in correction territory, down more than 10% off their recent highs. If there is anything that captures just how insane this day was on Wall Street, it's the VIX. That's a volatility index. It basically tells you how freaked out the markets were. It hit 38 today. Anything above 20 is a sign of distress. It was nearly double that. You get the point. It was an ugly day there for a while. So let's bring in CNBC correspondent Rahel Solomon to kick off this hour and talk about this insanity. Rahel, I was sitting here anchoring the 3 o'clock, looking at my trusty CNBC app and thinking, what the hell is going on? Forgive my language. I mean, what a crazy day. Now, I know earlier today, people were worried about corporate earnings, the Fed meeting, and then all of a sudden they started buying into the dip. What the heck happened today?
I know, Allison. It's like if you walked away from the computer, if you walked away from the TV for a few hours and came back, you'd be thinking, what just happened here? Because quite a dramatic comeback. So a few things were to blame for the sell-off, a few theories at least. So you're right. Yeah, the Fed is not expected to raise rates this week. But we do know that they could raise rates as early as March, which at this point is right around the corner. So that's spooking investors. And with rates going up, the less sexy but traditionally less risky value stocks may be in style. Again, part of the sell-off. Also, you have growing tensions geopolitically with Russia. And then, as you mentioned, Allison, there are earnings. This week, we hear from almost half of the 30 Dow companies, including Microsoft, IBM, Boeing, Intel, Apple, McDonald's, all of the big ones, you know. Still early in the earnings season. But, Allison, I want to point out the consensus is 8% growth in earnings this quarter, which sounds pretty good. Yeah. But when you compare that, when you compare that to 47% growth we saw in 2021, it looks a lot less attractive. I should say there are, however, some market watchers saying the sell-off earlier was overblown. And apparently there was some credence to that because the rest of the market felt the same.
Let me tell you, Rahel, compared to what we're seeing last week when between 3 and 4 o'clock, the markets kind of continued to sell off. I'll take what we got today, but I was certainly not expecting that at all. When we asked you earlier today, would you be the lead of our show? I did not think this was the reason why.
Well, I'm glad I'm still here, even though it was a reversal. But, yeah, it would be like if you had a D in a class on Monday and then on Tuesday you came back and suddenly you had a high C or a low B. It's like, well, that happened quickly, but you'll take it.
Good work, for sure. All right, another thing today, tax season officially kicks off. I know people think of tax season as, April 15th is the date, but you got to start getting things together in January. And this tax season is looking to be a rough one. I'm the daughter of a CPA, so I know the prevailing wisdom is the earlier the better, but there is all this extra urgency this year. What should our viewers know?
Yeah, so the IRS is saying that while 9 out of 10 refunds are processed within 3 weeks, there could also be some delays, and here's why. IRS says it is still dealing with a backlog of a couple million returns, and get this, those have to be manually corrected. Can you imagine? The agency also expects, I know, lots of mistakes on returns because of COVID-related tax changes like stimulus checks and enhanced child tax credit payments. That was the case for 2020 returns, so likely seeing the same thing. So what should you do? As you said, Allison, well, file as early as you can. File electronically. Also, if you received a letter from the IRS about the child tax credit or any stimulus payments, make sure you refer to it before you file. That should hopefully help you avoid any mistakes there, too.
Rahel, anything else you're eyeing this week besides the markets to see if there's any more insanity in store?
Yeah, well, of course, we'll get the Fed announcement on Wednesday, right? Which is, as we pointed out earlier, not expecting a rate hike this week, but anything is possible. The expectation, though, is closer to March. Also, the latest Case-Shiller report on home prices, that's going to be out on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we'll get fresh data on new and pending home sales. We should say supply is historically low. Interest rates had been historically low. They've kept prices elevated. But as we know, supply is almost too low and interest rates are on their way back up. So we could see the real estate market cool a bit this year. But both of those data points will help shed a little bit more light on that.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.